It was a humid Thursday afternoon on Interstate 75, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia. The temperature had climbed to 89 degrees, and the heat radiated off the asphalt in visible waves. The traffic was moderate for a weekday afternoon, with commuters heading home early and commercial trucks making their deliveries along one of the busiest highways in the Southeast. Officer Marcus Johnson was on routine highway patrol, something he had done thousands of times over his career. Marcus had been with the Georgia State Patrol for 7 years. At 34 years old, he was a decorated officer with multiple commendations for bravery, including one harrowing instance where he had pulled 3 children from a burning vehicle on this very same stretch of highway during a winter storm. That act of heroism had earned him the Medal of Valor, the department's highest honor. Marcus was a father of 2 beautiful daughters, ages 6 and 9, who were his entire world. He coached their soccer team on weekends and never missed a school performance. He was a veteran who had served 2 tours in Afghanistan with the Army's Military Police Corps, where he had learned the discipline and professionalism that would define his law enforcement career. He was active in his church, volunteered at the local Boys and Girls Club, and by every measure, was an exemplary public servant and role model in his community. His patrol car was equipped with the latest technology, including front and rear dash cams, a body camera that he wore on his chest, and sophisticated radar equipment. Everything was functioning perfectly that afternoon, which meant everything that was about to happen would be documented in excruciating detail. The call came through his radio at exactly 2:47 p.m. Multiple vehicles reported an erratic driver in a white Mercedes SUV swerving between lanes, tailgating, and driving aggressively. Marcus spotted the vehicle within minutes. The Mercedes was weaving through traffic at approximately 85 miles per hour in a 65 zone, cutting off other drivers without signaling. Marcus activated his lights and siren. The Mercedes didn't stop immediately. It continued for another mile and a half, during which the driver appeared to be on her phone, gesturing wildly. When she finally pulled over onto the shoulder, Marcus approached with standard caution. His body camera was activated, his dash cam was recording, and he had already called in the license plate. What he didn't know was that this routine traffic stop was about to become a viral sensation that would be viewed by millions. The driver was Jennifer Patterson, a 47-year-old real estate agent from an affluent suburb north of Atlanta. As Marcus approached the driver's side window, he could already see her face twisted in anger. Before he could even introduce himself or ask for her license and registration, she rolled down her window and the tirade began. "Are you kidding me right now?" Jennifer's voice was sharp and entitled. "Do you have any idea who I am? I was on my phone with a very important client, and you just cost me a major sale." Marcus remained professional. "Ma'am, I need to see your license, registration, and proof of insurance. You were driving 85 in a 65 zone, and I observed you swerving between lanes and tailgating multiple vehicles." But Jennifer wasn't interested in cooperation. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at Marcus, taking in his uniform, his badge, and most importantly, his face. "You've got to be joking," she said, her tone dripping with disgust. "They're letting people like you be highway patrol now? What, did they lower the standards or something?" Marcus had heard it before, too many times, but he remained calm, his training kicking in. "Ma'am, I need your documents, please." Jennifer threw her designer purse onto the passenger seat and crossed her arms. "I'm not giving you anything. You pulled me over because of what I look like and what I drive. This is harassment. This is profiling." The irony of her accusation was not lost on Marcus, but he maintained his composure. "Ma'am, I pulled you over because you were driving dangerously and breaking multiple traffic laws. Several other drivers called in your vehicle. Now please provide your documents." That's when Jennifer really escalated. She pulled out her phone and began recording Marcus. "I'm documenting this abuse," she announced loudly. "Everyone needs to see how this black officer is harassing an innocent white woman. This is reverse racism. This is what's wrong with America." Marcus remained calm, though his jaw tightened slightly. "Ma'am, you're free to record. I'm also recording. But I still need your license and registration." Jennifer's face turned red. "You don't belong in that uniform," she screamed. "Real Americans don't want people like you protecting us. You're probably just doing this to fill some diversity quota. Go back to where you came from." Marcus took a deep breath. "Ma'am, I was born in Macon, Georgia. I served in the United States military for 6 years, and I've been a state trooper for 7 years. Now I'm going to ask you one more time to provide your documents." But Jennifer was on a roll now, emboldened by her own anger and sense of superiority. She opened her car door suddenly, forcing Marcus to step back. "Don't you touch me," she shrieked, though Marcus hadn't moved toward her. "I know my rights. You can't make me do anything," Marcus calmly requested backup on his radio. "I need a supervisor to my location," he said, his voice steady despite the woman screaming at him. Jennifer got out of her vehicle completely now, standing on the highway shoulder, still filming with her phone. "This is assault," she yelled at her phone camera. "This black officer is assaulting me. Someone help." Other cars slowed down to watch the scene. Some drivers pulled out their phones as well, recording the incident from their vehicles. Then Jennifer made her biggest mistake. She stepped toward Marcus aggressively, still screaming into her phone, and when he held up his hand in a clear stop gesture, she swung her expensive Louis Vuitton designer purse at him with surprising force, striking him squarely in the shoulder. The body cam captured it all in perfect high definition. The swing, the impact, the sound of the purse hitting his uniform, and Marcus's immediate professional response despite being physically assaulted. "Ma'am, you just committed assault on a law enforcement officer. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest." His voice was calm, authoritative, and completely controlled despite what had just happened. Jennifer's eyes went wide with shock, as if she couldn't believe there would be consequences for her actions. "You can't arrest me. Do you know who my husband is? Do you know how many connections I have? I play tennis with the mayor's wife. My attorney is on speed dial." But Marcus was already moving forward with practiced efficiency, pulling out his handcuffs while maintaining a safe distance. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law," he began, reciting the Miranda rights he had delivered hundreds of times before. That's when Jennifer really lost whatever composure she had left. She started screaming even louder, her voice reaching a pitch that made passing drivers wince. She tried to pull away from Marcus, yanking her arms and attempting to twist out of his grasp. "Get your hands off me. This is police brutality. Help! Someone help me. This black officer is attacking me." Her performance was theatrical and completely false, all captured on multiple cameras from multiple angles. Then she did something that would seal her fate completely. In a moment of absolute rage and desperation, Jennifer kicked at Marcus with her expensive high-heeled shoe, her foot connecting hard with his shin. Marcus grimaced but maintained his professional composure. And then, in an act of pure contempt and hatred, Jennifer spit directly in his face. The body cam captured the moment in crystal-clear high definition. Jennifer Patterson, red-faced and furious, spitting directly at a law enforcement officer while resisting arrest. The spittle hit Marcus on his cheek and jaw. For just a moment, his eyes closed as he processed what had just happened. Then he wiped his face on his shoulder, maintaining his grip on Jennifer despite the disgusting assault. "We're adding resisting arrest and another count of assault on a law enforcement officer," he said calmly, his voice never rising, his professionalism never wavering even as saliva dripped down his face. He secured the handcuffs with practiced efficiency and began walking Jennifer toward his patrol car, reading her the rest of her rights as they walked. The body cam captured the moment in crystal-clear high definition. Jennifer Patterson, red-faced and furious, spitting directly at a law enforcement officer while resisting arrest. Marcus wiped his face with his shoulder, maintaining his grip on Jennifer despite the assault. "We're adding resisting arrest and another count of assault," he said calmly as he secured the handcuffs. But the instant karma was just beginning. As Marcus was securing Jennifer in the back of his patrol car, still screaming and threatening to sue him, another police vehicle pulled up. It was Sergeant Williams, Marcus's supervisor, who had been monitoring the situation via radio. But Sergeant Williams wasn't alone. Behind her vehicle was an unmarked black sedan. Out stepped Captain Robert Patterson, the commander of the Internal Affairs Division for the entire Georgia State Patrol. Captain Patterson walked up to Marcus's vehicle and looked in the back window at Jennifer, whose face immediately went from angry red to pale white. "Hello, Jennifer," Captain Patterson said quietly. Jennifer stopped screaming. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Robert," she whispered, "what are you doing here?" Marcus looked confused. Sergeant Williams explained. "Officer Johnson, Captain Patterson was driving behind you when you initiated this stop. He witnessed the entire incident. He also heard everything over the radio." Captain Patterson's face was stone. He looked at Marcus. "Officer Johnson, you handled this situation with extraordinary professionalism, despite being subjected to racist verbal abuse and physical assault. I witnessed everything, and I want to commend you." Then he looked back at Jennifer. "As for you, Jennifer, this is over. Our marriage is over. I've tolerated your entitled behavior and your subtle racism for years. But this, assaulting an officer, using racial slurs, all while being recorded," he shook his head, "I'll have divorce papers drawn up by Monday." Jennifer started crying now, the reality of her situation crashing down on her. "Robert, please, I didn't mean it. I was just upset. I didn't know you were there. Please." But Captain Patterson had already turned away. He spoke to Marcus and Sergeant Williams. "Process her on all charges: assault on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, reckless driving, and anything else that applies. I'm recusing myself from any involvement in this case due to the personal connection, but I will be providing a witness statement about everything I observed." The charges against Jennifer Patterson were severe. 2 counts of assault on a law enforcement officer, resisting arrest, reckless driving, driving while distracted, and after her blood test at the station came back, driving under the influence. Apparently, Jennifer had been drinking wine during her business lunch before getting behind the wheel. But the instant karma didn't stop there. Within 24 hours, the dash cam and body cam footage had been released to the media as part of the public record for assault on an officer cases. It went viral immediately. News outlets across the country picked up the story. Social media exploded with commentary. Within a week, the footage had been viewed over 50 million times across various platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The comment section was brutal for Jennifer. Thousands upon thousands of people expressed their disgust at her behavior. "This is what privilege and racism look like," read one comment with 100,000 likes. "That officer showed incredible restraint. I wouldn't have been so calm," said another. "She really spit on him and thought she'd get away with it," commented a viral TikTok with 10 million views. Jennifer's real estate agency terminated her employment immediately, issuing a public statement that her behavior was inconsistent with company values and our commitment to serving all members of our community with respect and dignity. The real estate board suspended her license pending a disciplinary hearing, which would ultimately result in permanent revocation. Several of Jennifer's former clients came forward with their own disturbing stories about her making inappropriate racial comments during property showings. One black family described in painful detail how Jennifer had tried to steer them away from certain neighborhoods, making thinly veiled comments about property values and neighborhood character and the kind of people who live there. Another mixed-race couple reported that Jennifer had suggested they look at homes in areas where you'd be more comfortable, pointing them toward predominantly minority neighborhoods despite their budget qualifying them for much more expensive properties. Fair housing advocates filed additional complaints with the State Real Estate Commission. Jennifer's husband, Captain Patterson, followed through on his promise. He filed for divorce, and in the proceedings, it came out that this wasn't the first time Jennifer had exhibited racist behavior. Captain Patterson provided testimony about years of inappropriate comments, complaints about diversity in their neighborhood, and objections to their children attending school with minority students. The judge in the divorce proceedings was not sympathetic to Jennifer's pleas for reconciliation. As for the criminal charges, Jennifer's expensive lawyer, a prominent defense attorney who normally handled white-collar crime cases, tried everything he could think of. He argued that she was having a mental health crisis brought on by extreme stress from her demanding career. He claimed she had been under severe pressure from a difficult client and wasn't in her right mind. He brought in a psychologist who testified about temporary stress-induced psychosis. He even tried to suggest, incredibly, that Marcus had somehow provoked her through his tone or body language, despite the clear video evidence showing his complete professionalism, calm demeanor, and appropriate responses throughout the entire encounter. The prosecutor played the body cam footage for the jury 4 times, and each time, Jennifer's lawyer visibly cringed as the jury watched his client's racist tirade and violent assault. Nothing worked. The evidence was overwhelming, the video was damning, and witness testimony from Captain Patterson and the other drivers who had called in Jennifer's erratic driving sealed the case. The jury, which included members of various racial backgrounds, deliberated for less than 2 hours before finding her guilty on all counts. The foreperson later told reporters that the deliberation had actually only taken 45 minutes, but they had taken extra time to review the evidence one more time to be absolutely certain, even though there was never any real doubt. Jennifer Patterson was sentenced to 18 months in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving 12 months. She was also ordered to complete anger management courses, undergo psychological evaluation, and perform 500 hours of community service at organizations serving communities of color. Her driver's license was suspended for 3 years. The judge, who happened to be a black woman, gave a scathing rebuke during sentencing. "Ms. Patterson," the judge said, "you assaulted a decorated law enforcement officer who was simply doing his job. You used racial slurs and attacked him physically, all while he maintained complete professionalism. Your behavior that day revealed deep-seated prejudices and an entitlement that has no place in our society. Perhaps time in prison will give you the opportunity to reflect on your actions and your attitudes." Officer Marcus Johnson received multiple commendations for his handling of the situation. The Georgia State Patrol used the incident as a training example for how to maintain professionalism in the face of verbal abuse and physical assault. Marcus was promoted to senior trooper and received a special recognition award from the governor of Georgia for his exemplary service. The viral videos sparked important conversations about the challenges that black law enforcement officers face, often dealing with racism from the very public they're sworn to protect. Marcus gave several interviews where he spoke eloquently about the incident. "I took an oath to serve and protect everyone, regardless of how they treat me," he said in one interview. "That day tested me, but my training and my commitment to that oath got me through it. I hope this incident helps people understand that racism isn't always cross burnings and white hoods. Sometimes it's a woman on a highway shoulder screaming that you don't belong in your uniform." The incident also led to policy changes. The Georgia State Patrol implemented additional training on de-escalation and dealing with hostile subjects. They also established a support program for officers who faced discrimination while on duty, recognizing that this kind of treatment can take a psychological toll over time. As for Jennifer Patterson, she served 13 months in prison before being granted parole. Upon her release, she was required to live in a halfway house and continue her court-ordered community service. Her real estate license was permanently revoked. Her divorce was finalized, leaving her with a modest settlement and no custody of her 2 teenage children, who both chose to live with their father. The instant karma that Jennifer experienced that day on Interstate 75 was swift, severe, and entirely self-inflicted. She lost her career, her marriage, her freedom, and her reputation, all because she couldn't control her racist impulses when faced with a black officer simply doing his job. The video of her arrest has been viewed hundreds of millions of times, ensuring that her moment of hatred will follow her for the rest of her life. Marcus Johnson, meanwhile, continues to serve with distinction. He's now a training officer, teaching new recruits about professionalism, de-escalation, and maintaining composure under pressure. He uses his own body cam footage from that day as a teaching tool, showing young officers what it looks like to do the job right, even when someone is doing everything they can to provoke you. The story serves as a powerful reminder that actions have consequences, that racism and entitlement are a toxic combination, and that instant karma is real. Jennifer Patterson thought she could abuse a police officer because of the color of his skin. Instead, she destroyed her own life, while Officer Marcus Johnson emerged as an example of everything a law enforcement officer should be. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with others. Stories like this need to be told because they remind us that professionalism, dignity, and integrity will always triumph over hatred and ignorance. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this case. And don't forget to subscribe because we bring you incredible true stories like this one every single week. Until next time, remember that karma is always watching, and justice, though sometimes delayed, is never denied.